You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Failure is absolutely part of the process, is necessary to understand, to first cherish the wins because, you lose much more than you win. But the failure is part of the process, to understand, analyze. You learn much more in the failure than in the success because you analyze much more. When you win, you just, oh, it was great. Look, this was great. And you move on. But when you don't win and you fail, you go much deeper into why.
Welcome to the Practical Horseman podcast, featuring conversations with respected riders, industry leaders, and horse care experts. The show is co-hosted by Practical Horseman editors, and our goal is to inform, educate, and inspire. I'm Kathleen Landwehr, and this week's episode is with Olympic show jumper Rodrigo Pessoa. Rodrigo and I spoke in late June, shortly before he was named to the Brazilian team for the FEI World Championships Aachen 2026. To give you a little more background on Rodrigo, he started riding at a young age alongside his father, five-time Olympian Nelson Pessoa. He followed in his father's footsteps and tallied his own string of impressive results with numerous Grand Prix wins and medals at major championships. Rodrigo is an 8-time Olympian and the winner of the Athens 2004 individual gold medal with Baloubet du Rouet. The iconic pair also won 3 consecutive FEI jumping World Cup finals from 1998 to 2000. Looking ahead to Aachen, 2026 will mark Rodrigo's 7th World Championship appearance, and his most notable past performance was when he became the youngest world champion at the age of 25 with Gandini Lianos in Rome in 1998. In our discussion, Rodrigo talks about his training philosophy, what makes a good horse person, his thoughts on how jumping has changed over the years, and more. Before getting into the conversation with Rodrigo, I'd like to share a word from one of this episode's sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Farnham, celebrating 80 years of trusted equine care, and Endure Gold Killer Fly and Mosquito Control, a new fly spray for horses. When your horse needs to stay focused, it helps to take flies out of the equation. Endure Gold uses brand new EPA-approved ingredients never before seen in equine care to annihilate flies, ticks, and mosquitoes. This advanced formula delivers fast knockdown and up to 14 days of fly protection you can trust. Discover fly protection with Endure Gold from Farnham. Now, let's jump right into the conversation with Rodrigo, where he shares what he loves about equestrian sport.
I think the sport is very unique because it's a sport that we do with a live being, and it's the only sport that we do with a live being, and the contact with the animal, is so special. It's not a tennis racket, it's not a boat, it's not a car. It's it has its own personality. It has its own good days, bad days. And there's a lot of feel that is involved, that you need to feel the horse and kind of detect all these things that are going on with him in order to have a good performance. That is what makes the sport so unique and captivating, because it's not something mechanical. There's no telemetry. It's really all based on feel, trust, confidence, and I think that is the reason why it's so magical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about how you did get your start in riding? I know.
Yeah. So my father was obviously everybody knows, was a professional, and we had always a lot of students at home that came to ride, and so from a very young age, I was all that was talked about at home was, horses, and horses were in my life from the very beginning. And we lived in a big house in France with had a big park, and at the back of the park, my dad built a few stables, and I had one or two ponies there, and he never really pushed to ride, but the ponies were there, and if I wanted to ride, I rode. And when I was young, I did a lot of other sports as well. I played tennis, I did judo, I played soccer. It was not always horses, and it's when I started competing around 9, 10 years old that it really got me. The horses really got me hooked on, and then since then I never looked back.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, it's a great learning from a great like your father and kind of going from there.
Very lucky, privilege, yeah.
Yeah. Were you always, maybe you were predestined to compete in the jumping discipline. Were you ever drawn to any other disciplines?
No, I wasn't. For me, it was jumping. And, when I was a little kid, I used to put like suitcases and little chairs and broomsticks and stuff like that all around the house and jump obstacles, like what the kids do today, is jumping. I used to do that as a kid. And for me, it was only jumping that was, that's all I knew also. So for me, it was never a question to do anything else but jumping.
Awesome. Yeah. Makes sense. So obviously you had quite a career with a variety of horses. Could you talk a bit about some of the most influential horses in your life, or either past or present, and, just tell me about who they are, what they're like, and why they were influential?
So, a lot of times, or very often, people ask me what has been my favorite horse. And it's very difficult to answer, because I've been very fortunate to have had a lot of incredible horses throughout my career. And everybody expects me to say Baloubet, because it's the horse that, I've had a lot of success with the Olympics and the World Cups and everything. But at the end of the day, the horse of my heart is Special Envoy. It's a horse that I started riding in 1990. And I did my first Olympic Games, my first World Championships with him. I won my first Grand Prix with him. And that is the horse that put me on the map. So I consider that horse, my pathfinder, the horse of my heart, because, he showed me the way, and he was a very forgiving horse and forgave all my mistakes as a young rider, and still was very generous and had some incredible victories with him. So that is still to date, the horse that I carry really in my heart as my favorite. Although I've been very lucky to have had, fantastic other horses throughout the career, and still now have great horses with great personalities. But the first one is always, for me, was the most important one, because he showed me the way.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Kind of that, like what you said, put you on the map, and your career continued from there after his, guidance in a way. Could you talk a bit about some of the most important wins of your career? Obviously, there've been many, so I don't know of kind of ones that really do stand out to you.
Everything, any win is important. Every win has marked you one way or another, has shaped you one way or another. And, even if you win a 145 ranking class, the thrill of winning is what keeps us moving forward and keeps us going, always chasing for the next one. Obviously, when you win a bigger class, a Grand Prix or a Nations Cup or something like that, then is really the thrill is magnified. It's 10 times more. But any win is important. Any win contributes to making you the rider that you are. And like I said, I've been very lucky to have had like big wins, great wins on the big stage. Our first bronze medal at the Olympics, was incredible in '96, because we were totally outsiders. We had no tradition in winning Olympic medals, and for us it was just an incredible moment. Um, the World Championship, the World Cups, the Grand Prix of Aachen, Spruce, and it would not be fair to pick one, but I think that all of those wins and any win shape you to the rider that you become. And I don't know if it's a legacy, but it really, yeah, builds your it builds you as a rider.
No, absolutely. It's kind of a great point in terms of, as you're training and developing your partnerships with the horses, obviously seems to be going in the right direction if you're winning competitions. So in addition to riding and, for Brazil, for major championships, you also served in the past as the jumping high performance manager for Ireland in 2017 to 2019. Of those kind of two roles, did you find yourself feeling more pressure with one or another?
First, through my career for the Brazilian team, because I was the one that had started the earliest on the team and was always the youngest one, and then became the more experienced one. Once my dad moved aside, I always did kind of that. It was automatic for me to have that kind of role of helping, being there for the group, for the team, trying to pass the experience that I had gathered. So I kind of always did it for Brazil in some way, and I do it now again that I'm back on the team. But 2017 was a time that I needed to take a little break from competing at the high level. I didn't have a good stable of horses at that time. I had gone through a very difficult time in my career of not being selected for the Olympics in Rio in my home country in 2016. So I really needed a break. This opportunity of Ireland came up through some of the riders that during the summer contacted me and said, you don't have much to ride. Why don't you help us? We have not been to the Olympics in 15 years or 16 years. We haven't qualified. And I thought it just came at the right moment for me to, take a step back and do this job, despite continue to ride a little bit on a smaller level. And it's a project that, I knew a lot of the boys that were on the team, and it's a project that I thought was necessary for me at the time, and I did it, and I embraced it, 100%, and I did 3 years of it, and I really enjoyed the time with Ireland. I created, you never, in a group like that, you're never unanimous. That's normal because you have to select, and if you select, you're choosing one over another, and sometimes people don't agree with the policy and of what we do. But I did create some great friendships. It was an incredible human experience for me, of leadership and of camaraderie. More than technical, because all the riders rode really well. They were great riders, and technically you just did a little bit of the technical part was not the biggest aspect of it. I would say the human side of it was for me the most important and the most special.
I guess kind of my next question is, like, in terms of, you've been involved with the sport for, a long time. And could you talk about kind of how the sport has changed from earlier on in your international career to now, maybe? And if you think there's kind of more changes coming in the next 5 years, 10 years?
A lot has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the technical aspect, the biggest change has been, the technical aspect of the competitions, the course building, how technical that has become, the speed that we go at, the time allowed, that has been the biggest factor of change, because we've always jumped, fences at 160, forever. But back in the day, we had a lot of time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And today, the time is like a huge factor. It's much shorter, and it is the main difficulty today is to still do those courses that are so delicate, because also it was very massive back in the day, and now it's 3 rails and little planks and little bricks on the wall and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that has become very technical, but then they're asking you to go at a high speed, because not only in the jump off to win, but to make the time allowed in the first round. That has been the biggest change and the biggest difficulty in the sport. And I think that we've come to a place now where I don't think that we can jump bigger or go any faster. And now it's just refining the technique, and always trying to have the horses in better control in order to go fast and jump clear. That's our everyday work, our everyday goal. So I don't think we will jump bigger. I don't think we will jump smaller. I don't think we'll go faster or slower. I think it's more or less where we're supposed to be. But now it's gonna be left to who does it the best.
Sure. Yeah, that's true just from kind of watching events. Sometimes it's an excellent round, but then they have, one time penalty. So
yeah.
Moving on.
No, the time has been the biggest factor for us. The biggest factor for us to to tackle, and the work of every day is really to have the horses in the best balance possible at a high speed and still jump clear.
Sure. Not easy. So talking a bit more about competition, and I think you kind of mentioned this early on, that in the sport, there's good days and bad days, and things don't always go to plan, and maybe, don't win a class, don't place where you would hope in a class, or just not have the round you wanted. And how do you kind of handle some of those challenging moments in the sport?
I think that, as you grow older, you get more experienced with dealing with the failure. Failure is absolutely part of the process, is necessary to understand, to first cherish the wins, because, you lose much more than you win. But the failure is part of the process, to understand, analyze. You learn much more in the failure than in the success, because you analyze much more. When you win, you just, it was great, look, this was great, and you move on. But when you don't win and you fail, you go much deeper into why. And in fact, you learn more about what happened, about yourself, about, if you did something wrong, if the horse didn't react a way that you needed to react. So I think that, like I said, as you grow older, you're able to analyze better, faster, and you get over the failure quicker than when you're younger. When you're young, the things linger, and you hold on to it much more. And now you're able to let go, because you understand that, it happens, it's going to happen, it's inevitable, and there's nothing that you can do about it. It's too late, and you just have to move on in order to, otherwise you torture yourself beyond. And I was never that person. I was always able to, to move away from failure quite quickly. But that does come with time, and the more you fail, the more you understand how to, move past stuff.
Sure. It's kind of a good quote to live by. Failure is part of the process.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Right, and I don't know if this is the case for you now, or if it was earlier in your career. Are you someone who gets kind of nervous when you compete? Or maybe that was something in the past. How did you work on handling those nerves?
you always get nervous. The person that tells you that doesn't get nervous is a liar. That's not true. Everybody gets nervous, even the best. Otherwise, it's that adrenaline that makes, the difference. And the nerves, if you don't have the nerves, if you don't have the butterflies, it's not worth doing then, because that's what, that is what really is the thrilling part of it. Now, the good guys, they are nervous, but they control it the best. That's the guy that, that has the success, is that they do get nervous, because everybody does, but they have a capability of controlling it and not getting in the way of your performance and performing at the highest level. And just despite being nervous, you're able to deliver the result that you're there to deliver.
Sure.
And that just comes with also experience and how to control your nerves. Some people control it better than others. Some people show it more than others, but everybody gets nervous.
Yes. Yeah. It's
maybe the coolest ones.
Yeah. Maybe a little comforting to hear for adult amateurs feeling nerves as well.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we have done it so many times, so many years, over and over. That's why you say you're more experienced and you're better with experience, because you've done it so many times and you get to, you control it. You control it better because you've done it so much.
Sure. No, absolutely. So with big competitions, are you someone who kind of has a routine preparing for big classes? I know some riders say they do, but I don't know if you feel like you do.
I don't think I have a routine. I think that I want to know that coming to a big class or a championship, I want to know that, I'm well prepared, that my horse is well prepared, that, we have done everything in our power to arrive at this competition the best way possible, to tackle the course, because the course is your first opponent and the course builder is the person that you have to beat. And then afterwards to beat your opponents. So I want to know that I've done everything in my power to get there the best way possible in order to achieve what I want to achieve, and that comes from myself, my sleep, my nutrition, my fitness, and the same for the horse, the horse's fitness, the horse's nutrition, the horse's, feel good, and then putting everything together, controlling the nerves and putting it together when I need to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complete picture with making everything work together.
Yeah.
And you mentioned fitness. That was kind of one of the things I wanted to ask you about. I mean, with your horses, is there kind of a certain fitness routine that you have with them?
The horses are, they are the athletes. They are the main athletes. They are the ones that are doing the biggest work, because they are the ones that have to, carry us over these big jumps. So obviously, we have to feel well and be in a good state of mind in order to to perform. But the horse, ultimately, has to be, in a good way, ready to go, in a good physical condition in order to be able to deliver the best way they can, So we look very closely at, everything that they do, how much they do in the days, weeks, months prior.
Yeah. And then for you as a rider, I know some riders kind of have specific fitness routines that they like to follow. Is there certain workouts that you do or things that you find work well for you?
That is also an aspect that has evolved incredibly over the years. Back in the day, nobody did anything. Nobody did anything. Today, we are much more conscious about our fitness, our well-being, and we invest money, invest time in doing it. It's not something that is super fun to do, but I think it's something that on the long run pays off. To have a good hygiene of life, and to be able to, take good care of yourself. So yeah, it's something that is has really evolved now also in the last decade, I would say.
Definitely. I mean, still occasionally some trainers, I mean, obviously stay very busy riding horses, but yeah, it's become definitely from what I'm hearing, more and more common. Before continuing the conversation with Rodrigo, I'd like to share a word from another sponsor, Tribute Equine Nutrition. At Tribute Equine Nutrition, caring for horses has always come first. As a family-owned company safely making feed right here in the USA, they're celebrating America's 250th anniversary by supporting programs that make a difference through horses. Every bag of Tribute sold helps support PATH International's Equine Services for Heroes programs, helping veterans through equine assisted services. They've also introduced limited edition patriotic horse treats for summer. Ready to try Tribute? Start with a free personalized feeding plan, and your first bag is free at tributeequinenutrition.com. Now, let's continue the conversation with Rodrigo. Kind of shifting now to talking about training, could you talk about your training philosophy with horses?
For me, I grew up always with the most important value with the horses from my dad was to respect the horses. Respect the horses. Respect what the horse is telling you. Listen to the horse, and do what is the best for the horse. Put the horse first, and the training then comes from that. Is try to give the horse in the best freshness of mind possible. Movement, a lot of movement throughout the day, not like necessarily work, but movement. Whether it's on the treadmill, whether it's on the paddock, whether it's riding, a 30-minute flat session, or just a hack with someone. Keep the horse moving, keep the horse happy, keep the horse comfortable is our primary concern in order to have a horse that is happy and that is willing to fight for you and perform well. So that is our main concern.
Absolutely. No, yeah, definitely the horse first and doing everything you can, like that too, about movement, whatever it may be, just keeping them moving as athletes.
It doesn't have to be work, but movement and the mind, out, whether it's woods, whether it's beach, whether it's meadows, whatever it is try to take the horse out of the ordinary, the everyday, going round and round in a indoor or in a sandbox, take it out of its
bit of variety.
That's really important.
Yes. And with teaching students, how would you describe your teaching style?
There's also I learned from my dad. My dad was a very good rider himself, but he was a very good teacher. Very back when I started, very severe, very demanding, but always what I learned the most from him was always to make sure to demand from the students something that they're able to achieve and to give, and not to frustrate them by asking things that are too difficult. If I'm asking something, is that I know that they can do it if they put enough effort in. And it's not too hard, it's not impossible. And to be, have discipline, because at the end of the day, discipline is everything, whether it's in your everyday life, whether it's in your sport, whether it's in everything. Discipline is one of the most important things to have if you want also to perform at a high level, is to have the discipline and and be really connected and focused and in the moment. And that's what I will demand from the students, is that you're having a lesson or you're training, that's focus on that. That's the most important thing that you're doing right now, and put your best into it. And for me, it's no problem making mistakes. Making mistakes, again, is part of the process. That is why you have a teacher. That's why you're a young rider. You make mistakes. That is normal. But for me, very important is make different mistakes. Do not make always the same mistake. Making the same mistake is lack of intelligence. And you have to make different mistakes, as many as you want, but make it different. Solve something, move on to something else, and get and make different mistakes. For me, is no problem. And we have all day to fix these things. But something that not frustrates me, but not annoys me, but that bothers me is when you have to repeat always the same thing. Is that and the person is not taking the information in, not taking it seriously enough, not thinking that that is important enough, and then you don't move forward. You're just repeating always the same thing, and that's a lack of intelligence to me.
Yeah, it's like if you came too slow to the jump, okay, well, pick up your pace, and if it was still wrong, okay, adjust it again. Versus
you can repeat it, because part of teaching is trying to do it, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer to do it, but see that the person is making an effort to change what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And if they just don't make a change, you tell them to shorten their reins, and the reins are just always kept getting longer.
Oh no.
They don't think about shortening it and do it again and say it again and say it again. At the end is it's basic stuff that otherwise we can move forward with more technical things if we have to address basic stuff over and over. Because the base, the fundamental thing of learning how to ride and getting better is that the base has to be good in order to put build up from there. And that's the same in the building. If the base is not good, is crooked, the building is going to be crooked.
Right.
If the base is good, flat and solid, then you can go 100 stories. But if it's crooked and if it's not okay, one story is too much.
Sure. Yeah, being disciplined with those basics, so then you can be disciplined with the more technical aspects later.
Exactly. And everything will come easier once you have the discipline. It just becomes then automatism, and then it's very simple. And keep it simple. Keep the riding simple, because it's already complicated enough. You're a living being that has its own thoughts and stuff, and you keep it simple is also very important.
Yeah, definitely. And with kind of your coaching and training, do you have a favorite exercise that you like to kind of set up in your ring, whether it's for your horses or more for your students? And if so, can you describe that?
It's all depends on the horse, what you're doing and what you want to achieve. It can be like a simple little one stride double of 2 cross rails with a pole in front and behind, just to let the horse just pop over and knock the rust off and just keep in good shape. Or it can be something more technical with a distance that is more difficult, something that you want to correct. Or it really depends what you want to achieve in the session, and not jump for nothing. Every jump that you give is a day less in the life of the horse. So not jump just to jump, and really have a plan of what you're going to do, and what you're going to do it for is the most important. It's really important to know when you start the session and when you want to finish, where you're heading, what are you doing it for. And so
kind of always having that plan of what your goal is.
You need to have a plan of what you're doing, the goal, and how many jumps you're going to do. Think that you're going to do more or less 20 jumps or 25 jumps or 15 jumps. Try to stick to that more, give or take.
So you've answered most of my questions. I just have a couple more wrap-up questions.
Okay.
So with the sport, we talked about the ups and downs. For you, what is the hardest part of the sport?
Horse injuries. Horse injuries is the most important, most difficult part, because you can take all the best care that you want. You can, do everything right, or what you, anyways, think is right. And at the end of the day, it's an animal that is supposed to be running out in the wild, and we are, saddling it up and doing what we do. and the horse is just as delicate as a human,
Sure.
and they're doing huge efforts for which they are prepared for and for which they are trained for. But you're always at the mercy of the injury, and that is hard because you can take a lot of care, you can take all the precautions, but it's always there. And
Sure.
and sometimes it's a small thing and you can get back on the road very quickly, or sometimes it takes much longer, and that's the hardest part.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Like what you said, just you can take all the care that you want with them, but still things can go wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
So, is there any advice you would give your younger self?
To the young people that I teach today, or that I come across, is just look, try to learn as much as possible by looking, by asking, being curious, and putting your mind to it. And a virtue that you really need in this sport is patience. It's the number one virtue that you need, because it takes time. A horse is not a machine, and everything takes time to achieve. And so I think that the most important thing to have is patience, and trust the process, and trust the process. Have faith in what you're doing, that it's the right thing, and trust the process, and give it the time. And normally you should be you should achieve it.
So, in your opinion, what makes a good horse person?
Horsemanship, listening to the horse, the horse tells you things. You have to be able to also take that information and use it in the right way. But I think a good horse person is really like taking the information that the horse is giving you and triage it, and do the best with it, with that information that you can, in order to create a good partnership with your horse.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. Just with, the horses are obviously giving us information, but using it the right way.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you kind of attribute to your success to as a rider and trainer? I mean, a lot of things probably, but
Having had the chance to have a great mentor, in my dad, and also everybody that's helped me along the way, coaches, trainers, all my fellow competitors, from which I've learned a lot, and I still learn every day. Every person that's worked with me, whether on the ground or helping me with the horses, grooms, staff, owners, all of that are the people that make it possible, and that shape who you are, and who you become. So because it's at the end of the day, the ring, the competition is just the last brick of the last piece of the puzzle. But before that, there's like loads of people that are putting incredible amount of effort and time and money into getting you there, and without them it's not possible. This is not a one band show. It's a lot of people that do all of those things in order for you to collect then all the glory. But behind the glory and behind everything, there's a lot of people, and so always be grateful for those people, the time that they put in, the passion, the hard work. It's a lot of that before you do well.
no, yeah, such a team effort. And
A huge team effort.
Yes.
Huge team effort.
so my last question is, what's next for you and your horses?
I'm very lucky now to have the support of Mr. and Mrs. Clark. Here in the States, they're incredible owners, and they've given me, the possibility to do this, at the highest level, giving me the possibility to do it in the best way possible. And, and for me, it's, we have the World Championship this year, Pan Am's, all looking forward to the Olympics. It's try to get the one more shot at the Olympics and see what we can do. And this year for the WEG, we have a good team. Is try for me to choose the good horse already first, because I'll have 2 horses to choose from, make the right choice. And there again, I'll be listening to the horse and I'll be listening to the horse and see which horse is in the best shape possible. And hopefully I choose well for the horse to, that I think is going to give me the best result. And then me to just go in and do my part of the job.
Thanks for listening to this week's conversation with Rodrigo Pessoa, and a big thank you to the episode's sponsors, Farnham and Tribute Equine Nutrition. You can listen to the Practical Horseman podcast on your favorite podcast player or on horseradionetwork.com. While you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Kathleen Landwehr, and you've been listening to the Practical Horseman podcast.